Welcome back again, everyone. It's Dina Calmetta here, and for today's news, I'm going to get right to the point. The world is literally holding their breath as nuclear war could break out at any time if India continues to strike. Pakistan's defense minister gave a stark warning in an interview with Pakistani TV Geo News as tensions between the two nuclear powers continue to reach a boiling point. The minister said that if India, impose an all-out war on the region, and if such dangers arise in which there is a standoff, then at any time a nuclear war could break out. If a chance of war arises in which there is a sign of nuclear option being used on both sides, then the responsibility for that will be on India. Pakistan's prime minister blamed India for igniting an inferno in the region after bombing his country and has now authorized his troops to fire missiles back. Nuclear war in this region is feared to kill as many as 125 million people, and the world has called on both sides to step back from the brink. New Delhi, meanwhile, has said that it's prepared to retaliate against Pakistan if it does return fire. Speaking to Pakistan's parliament in Islamabad, the prime minister said that the responsibility for ensuing consequences shall lie squarely with India. He said that the nation stands galvanized and resolute in the face of any further aggression. Fears of an all-out war are growing as Islamabad says that India's missile strikes deliberately targeted civilians. They branded it a cowardly and unlawful act of war. Sharif said that the armed forces are now authorized to undertake corresponding actions, vowing to respond at a time and place and manner of its choosing. India insists it only hit terror infrastructure in a planned operation, striking 9 sites used by militants, and denies targeting civilians or military facilities. So this is potentially a very bad situation. India and Pakistan have been at each other's throats for quite some time, and they are both nuclear powers. But it's not just India and Pakistan. Right now, we are witnessing the prophecy, wars and rumors of wars. We cannot forget what's happening in Ukraine and Russia. What about in the Middle East between Israel and Iran? Israel does possess nuclear weapons, and there are some that believe that Iran possesses nuclear weapons. Yes, I know people say that they do not, that they're working towards it, but they could possibly already have nuclear weapons. And we cannot forget the aggression between Turkey and Israel in Syria. That's another hot point. And what about North Korea? I know he's been a little quiet, at least for the last few weeks, but there is a threat there as well. So we are literally on the cusp right now of something very bad breaking out if cooler heads do not prevail. But let's talk about Russia a little bit. What has Russia been up to? Well, it's being reported by United 24 that Russia is building up their military bases along Finland's border, according to satellite images. Could this be signaling potential preparations for a future confrontation with NATO? Express News is reporting that Russia is preparing for war with NATO as 3 European countries are in Putin's crosshairs. Latvian intelligence has uncovered evidence that Russia is preparing for war against NATO by conducting demonstrations of force and provocations. Russia again has increased its surveillance of NATO military activity in the Baltic Sea as tensions remain high over the continuing war in Ukraine. It comes after the UK confirmed that the Royal Air Force Typhoon jets in Poland were scrambled 3 times in 3 days last month to intercept Russian warplanes. Putin's regime is pursuing tactics which include violating airspace without permission and carrying out aggressive maneuvers near NATO's aircraft and ships. The behavior increases the risk of accidental military incidents, which could trigger fierce responses. In the meantime, China's president is aiming to beef up a no-limits Putin partnership. These two nuclear powers together is not a good thing for the United States, you guys. But it goes on to report that the Chinese president headed to Moscow on Wednesday for a key 3-day visit, including a Grand Victory Day parade and a show of support for Putin. Moscow and Beijing declared a no-limits partnership weeks before Putin ordered Russia's Ukraine offensive in February of 2022. The expanded military and trade ties have troubled the West. The visit comes with rising China-U.S. tensions over biting U.S. trade tariffs, while President Trump has also made overtures to Putin in a bid to mediate the conflict in Ukraine. On Tuesday, the Kremlin praised Russia-China relations as a genuine example of cooperation, and they said that they were at their highest point. The Washington Times is reporting that Chinese forces are escalating preparations for a military attack against Taiwan in what the commander of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command calls a rapid boil. Admiral Samuel J. Papero said in public remarks that his predecessor warned him before he took over one of the largest military forces a year ago that a conflict with China could take place on his watch. And this is something that I have been warning about for the last couple of years. But he goes on to say that, the metaphor of boiling the frog? Well, it's rapid boil. We noticed quick change. It goes on further to report that the Chinese military is conducting frequent pressure operations around Taiwan that simulate the closing of a military zone. These are rehearsals for selective blockade quarantine, and then we're seeing rehearsals across the board. So that number from 1 to 6 to 42 are step level changes in the environment. So basically, he's saying that China has stepped up their military exercises since 2021, and now they're zeroing in. Now, with that said, let's go back to the Middle East. It's being reported that the Iranian defense minister stated on Sunday that Iran has successfully tested an advanced solid-fuel ballistic missile that can penetrate the THAAD anti-missile system and strike targets in Israel. So again, we see threatening behavior coming from Iran. Now, again, with Iran, they were supposed to have a meeting last weekend with the United States, which was postponed, and that is something that should happen this weekend. No confirmations as of yet. Now, Breitbart is reporting that on Wednesday's Hugh Hewitt show, President Trump discussed nuclear talks with Iran and stated that Iran has to turn over its uranium and either deactivate or destroy their centrifuges, or else they will face strikes from the U.S. So hopefully Iran will make a deal with President Trump. And as we know, with this particular president, he follows through. If he says he's going to do something, he does it. Now, with some good news, President Trump revealed he has struck a huge deal with the United Kingdom, the first such agreement since he launched a global trade blitz last month. The president promised many more deals would follow with other countries after his Liberation Day tariff sent the world economy into a tailspin. It means Trump is handling a big political victory to a key ally, UK Prime Minister, who has been negotiating behind the scenes with the White House for weeks. The agreement with the United Kingdom is a full and comprehensive one that will cement the relationship between the United States and the United Kingdom for many years to come, according to the president. He said, because of our long-time history and allegiance together, it is a great honor to have the United Kingdom as our first announcement, many other deals which are in series of stages of negotiations to follow. So for now, things are at least starting to look up. However, it does not change prophecy. As I mentioned in my report yesterday, there is still famine in parts of the world. The economy will take a tumble drastically, as we know with the third seal. But for the current time, this is good news. And hopefully other countries will follow. Time will tell, but it is going to take time. In other news, shoppers in Kansas City and across Missouri could soon be able to pay for their groceries and pay taxes with gold and silver. Sound familiar? I just talked about this in our Bible prophecy update yesterday. Missouri lawmakers this week, in a move that surprised some, approved a controversial bill that would make gold and silver legal tender in the state. The legislation, which passed both chambers of the General Assembly as an amendment to a sweeping finance-related bill, is headed to the Republican governor's desk. The Republican-led legislation will require state government entities to accept the electronic versions of gold and silver. While the measure would not require businesses to accept gold and silver as payment for private uses, such as groceries, it would allow them to do so. So in light of this headline, let's go to Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 19. They shall cast their silver in the streets, and their gold shall be removed. Their silver and their gold shall not be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of the Lord. They shall not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowels, because it is the stumbling block of their iniquity. So the fact that this particular scripture specifically mentions silver and gold is very interesting and eventually will be prophetic. KTLA, as well as many other sources, are reporting that Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg wants a future of AI friends and therapists. What? The Wall Street Journal reported on Zuckerberg's vision for the digital future where AI friends outnumber human ones, and how chatbot experiences supersede therapists, ad agencies, and coders. Which is to say that Zuckerberg sees the future as people choosing the automated illusion of friends over actual friends. Okay, so this is getting a little bit out of hand, but I can see this happening. There have been reports where there are actual people that are buying robots, having relationships with chatbots online. So is this far-fetched? I don't think so, because it's already happening. In very sad news, an alligator killed a Florida woman after tipping over a canoe she and her husband were paddling, in what investigators say appears to be an accidental encounter. The attack happened on Tuesday afternoon near the mouth of Tiger Creek. It is near the location of a March alligator attack in which a woman was bitten on the elbow while kayaking. Investigators said at a news conference on Wednesday that the couple was canoeing in about 2.5 feet, less than 1 meter of water, when they came upon a large alligator. The startled animal thrashed suddenly, tipping over the canoe and sending both people into the water. So a very sad situation here. In other news, wildfire burns over 6,200 acres on North Dakota tribal lands. Coordinated efforts by state, tribal, and federal agencies saved most structures with only one abandoned trailer lost. But there were at least 16 wildfires that burned across North Dakota from May 4th to the 6th. Over in Texas, at least 5 tornadoes touched down on central Texas on Tuesday, May 6th, affecting Leon, Milam, Robertson, and Anderson counties. The storms caused widespread damage and 1 injury in Frankston as severe thunderstorms moved through the region. Record rains drenched New Orleans on Wednesday, May 7th, as severe storms brought flash floods and strong gusts to parts of Louisiana, causing widespread damage. Severe weather in Iran claims 9 lives. Iran faced severe corrective storms with strong winds, heavy rain, dust, and frequent lightning from late April to early May 2025. The storms occurred between Sunday, April 27th and Monday, May 5th, leading to 9 fatalities and 86 injuries nationwide. 5 deaths were due to lightning strikes, and 4 resulted from falling debris caused by winds reaching 62 miles per hour. A powerful storm system drenched southern Nevada on May 6, triggering flash flood warnings, airport delays, and a swift water rescue in Henderson after a man was swept into a wash and disappeared. Rainfall totals shattered multiple records across Las Vegas Valley, with Harry Reid International Airport logging the highest May rainfall in over 5 decades. Again, we are seeing a lot of catastrophic weather. In the meantime, explosions and pyroclastic flows at Santa Maria volcano in Guatemala. It produced ash plumes up to 2,950 feet above the crater and pyroclastic flows down the southern and southwestern flanks. And with that said, we're seeing some activity on our sun. 4 solar filament eruptions between May 6th and 7th produced fast-moving CMEs, all of which are expected to pass north or south of the Earth without impacting us. The minor storm conditions are likely to take place on May 9th. And what else is happening in our heavens? An enormous molecular cloud has been discovered near Earth. It was named Eos after the Greek goddess of dawn. The newfound cloud is shaped like a crescent and made of hydrogen gas. It is located 300 light years from Earth, making it the closest known molecular cloud. At about 100 light years wide, it is one of the largest structures in the sky. To put it on a scale, it is equivalent to 40 moons lined up side by side. The leader of the discovery and an associate professor in the Department of Physics said that it's huge and it's been hidden this whole time. Despite its massive size and relative closeness to Earth, Eos has managed to escape detection due to its low content of carbon monoxide. Apparently, it glows in the dark. With other signs in the heavens, Venus will partner up with the giant planets Saturn and Neptune to form a lineup to the pre-dawn sky on May 8th today, with fleet-footed Mercury remaining nearby close to, with Mercury striking low to the horizon in the hour preceding. So very interesting. The planets are lining up. In other news, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has ordered the Department of State to close the Office of Palestinian Affairs and merge it with the United States Embassy in Jerusalem. Tammy Bruce, a spokesperson with the Department of State, confirmed during a hearing that the U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, would be taking the steps necessary to implement the merger over the coming weeks. This decision will restore the first Trump term framework of a unified U.S. diplomatic mission in Israel's capital that reports to the U.S. ambassador to Israel. Ambassador Mike Huckabee will take the steps necessary to implement the merger over the coming weeks. Fox News is reporting that the House has voted to make the Trump Gulf of America name change permanent. The House of Representatives voted 211 to 206 to make President Trump's name change for the Gulf of America permanent on Friday. Fox News is reporting again that the National Institute of Health recently announced that the agency closed its last in-house Beagle laboratory on the NIH campus. This comes just days after Elon Musk posted on X that he would investigate the funding Beagle experiments. A report from the White Coast Waste Project detailed the lab's history of allegedly pumping pneumonia-causing bacteria into more than 2,000 beagles' lungs, bleeding them out and forcing them into septic shock for deadly experiments. This had to come to an end. This is just cruelty on a whole new level for these poor pups. But following the announcement, the WCW president and founder, Anthony Bellotti, praised President Trump for ending the highly scrutinized project. He said that taxpayers and pet owners shouldn't be forced to pay for the NIH Beagles abuse. We applaud the president for cutting this wasteful spending and will keep fighting until we defund all dog labs at home and abroad. The solution is simple. Stop the money. Stop the madness. These experimental labs have killed thousands of beagles for 40 plus years. And we all know who was the head of that particular experimentation on these innocent animals. This is definitely a good thing that the president did. And finally, the Catholics have a new pope. The pontiff, who will be named Pope Leo XIV, is the 267th pope, becoming the religious leader of Catholics across the world, and someone believed to be called to be the successor to Saint Peter, who was the first. And check this out. He is the first American Pope. So this is definitely a historical moment for the United States and for the world. His given name is Robert Prevost, and I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, but he will be called Pope Leo XIV. And he was born in Chicago. But certainly a lot of headlines in the last couple of days. Please do leave your comments below this video. Tell me what you think. Also, come and visit us on our social media pages, as well as our website at www.cww7news.com. And next week, we will have a new guest appearance on our Tuesday Good News show from somebody we haven't heard from in a very long time, and that is evangelist Tony Glover. So with that said, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all on Monday. God bless.